Welcome back to episode 36 of Enlighten, an Advent podcast from All Saints Catholic Church in Dallas. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to go ahead and subscribe on your podcast platform so you don't miss any of our daily episodes. We'll be going through all of the Advent season and the whole Christmas season as well, talking about the ways that God shines light into our lives and helps us reflect that light for others. Today is the Epiphany of our Lord. This, I think, is one of the most beautiful feast days. It's the feast of, as we all know, the three kings, or as many of us know, I should say. And the three kings who come to Jesus and they bear frankincense, gold, and myrrh. I love the readings for today. They are simply just beautiful, all oriented to this idea of coming to adore Jesus Christ, coming and bearing gifts for Jesus Christ. So the gospel from Matthew 2 is the story of the Magi coming from the east. They see his star rising and they come and they want to do him homage, and they stop by and they see King Herod and they tell them about this star, and they're like, where's the king? And he's like, I don't know. But ultimately they come to the decision of, he's not here. We have to keep following the star. But Herod asked them to come back. But then they're obviously warned by an angel not to return by the same way and not to go back to Herod. And so they are also talked about in Isaiah 60, but rather referenced to. Isaiah 60 talks about the light that is to come. It talks about how the Lord shines. The nations walk by your light, the kings by your shining radiance. And I think this is really beautiful because it kind of alludes to the star that the wise men are following on their way to see Jesus. The star that night was so incredibly bright, brighter than any of the other stars. And it's this reflection of, it's called the Star of David. It's this reflection of what Jesus is in this world. He's a light that we are to follow. There's lines in here as well that says, your sons come from afar and your daughters in the arms of their nurses. And these Magi, they came from so far away. But I really like this line. It says your sons, because it's claiming them. It's claiming the Magi as part of the family of God, which if you were an Israelite at the time, if you were a Jewish person at the time, you would have thought that God has come for his people, has come for the Israelite people, and not for the Gentiles. But in this moment, these Gentiles, these people from the East, are being claimed as part of the family of God. There's also parts in here that says that are actually prophecies for the coming of the Magi. And it says, riches of the sea shall be emptied before you, wealth of nations brought before you. Caverns of camels shall fill you, bearing gold, frankincense, and proclaiming the praises of the Lord. So it's just a beautiful prophecy, all oriented towards the coming of the Magi. One other beautiful part that I have found in these readings is a line also from Isaiah, and it talks about, your heart shall throb and overflow. And I love to look at that in light of what the Psalm says. The Psalm says, every nation on earth shall adore you. When we come before Jesus, it is our heart's designed to overflow with joy. It's our heart's designed to adore from a place of true and deep love of Christ. And it's just really spoken about here in these readings. And so the question I want to leave you with today is, in what ways is Jesus asking you to adore him, and what gifts is he asking you to bring to him? Perhaps it's gifts of your time or your talents, maybe even like the gift of your treasures. But what gifts does he want you to give, and in what ways, what capacities? Because we all have gifts to bring, and maybe they're not gold, frankincense, or myrrh, but we all have gifts that we can bring. And so what gifts today does Jesus want you to bring?